Hello, everybody, and welcome to Week 12 Power Rankings of the NFL season. Again, this season's been kind of going by relatively fast, but at the same time slow, which we're about to be entering Week 12. So let's dive right into it. Before we do, real quick, subscribe if you're new, greatly appreciated. Leave a like while you're at it as well, and also comment down below your power rankings or anything you disagree with on mine. To begin the honorable mentions, we're going to have the Arizona Cardinals, who had a bye this week and thus do not fall within the power rankings. The Indianapolis Colts, who had an incredible game against the Jets. Anthony Richardson played really well, made some great plays when it needed to, had two rushing touchdowns, including the game winner. And the defense played really well against the Jets. And there was a part where, the first five Jets drives, all were basically 3-and-outs. And to do that against an Aaron Rodgers led offense is pretty impressive. So they are an honorable mention. Next up, the Washington Commanders find themselves an honorable mention after losing back to back. And it was just a game full of missed opportunities for the Commanders. Especially in that first half, they had so many chances to extend their lead, to take the lead initially. Just they missed opportunities, and then they had that decision to go for it on 4th and 2 in the fourth quarter that failed. And from that moment on, they got blown out basically. Saquon Barkley had himself one hell of a day. The final honorable mention is going to be the Houston Texans. That was a great game they had, kind of a bounce back game after losing the past two. And it was against a banged up Cowboys team. Cooper Rush leading the way, but hey, they still played incredibly. The defense had a touchdown. Stroud played well. The entire Texans team played well, with Mixon having a touchdown or a few as well in there. But yeah, just it was the first win in a few weeks. I want to see them keep up this level of play and keep up the dominance that they, in theory, can play as. So they're the final honorable mention. To kick things off at number 10, I have the Baltimore Ravens. It was a tough loss for them against a divisional foe in the Pittsburgh Steelers, who the Steelers have had their match the past couple of years. So it was a really tough loss for this to happen. The thing is, the defense didn't give up a single touchdown in this game. But the offense was slowed down. Lamar had just under 50% completion in this one with a touchdown and an interception. Derrick Henry ran okay against the Steelers defense, but he wasn't a main focal point of the offense, which was weird. And it was also weird that he wasn't even on the field for that 2-point try at the end of the game. Definitely felt like he needed to be out there. But the main thing is, like, if Justin Tucker just was his usual self and made his kicks, Ravens probably and most likely do win this game. He missed two on the day, and that definitely played a massive factor in the loss. Overall, though, it was just the Ravens playing a tough game against a team that has played them tough many a times in the past. So they're gonna come in at number 10. At number 9, a little bit of a weirder team, but we have the Denver Broncos. It was an absolute dominance victory over the Atlanta Falcons that the Broncos had. It was a incredible game all around. The defense played out of their mind. Bo Nix had himself a fantastic game. Honestly, what might have been his best game as a pro so far. Playing incredibly well. They sweep the NFC South this season. And again, what was for the most part dominant factors in every single game they played against them. And again, this being one of their best games they played this season, the other one being against the Saints a few weeks back. And I'm liking what I'm seeing. Sean Payton has them playing well. The issue is, as a Dolphin fan, I need him to lose a few. But they currently sit at the 7th spot in the AFC playoff picture, and their upcoming schedule, I mean, is nothing to really write home about. But it's also nothing to really take for granted and sleep through. So it's going to be interesting to see how this relatively young team handles this final stretch. But for now, they come in at number 9. Number 8 is the Los Angeles Chargers. Almost pulled their usual Charger hijinks of losing the game they should win. But Harbaugh is showing that this is a different Charger team that's taking the field every day. It was an incredible first half they played. The second half was a lot rougher. But they're able to hang on with that first half game with the game they played in the first half. In part because Evan McPherson missed a pair of kicks in this one, but when you're able to hold on to these kind of games, it definitely does something for your team. But the main factor of it was J.K. Dobbins. He had 2 touchdowns on the day. Herbert threw for 2 touchdowns and nearly 300 yards. It was the defense that was really kind of concerned about after this game, in part because they gave up a lot to Burrow in that second half, with it being 3 touchdowns. But on the flip side, 28 for 50, 28 for 50 on completion. And they did a good enough job against Chase Brown, holding him to about 4 yards a carry. And of course, they made the plays late when they needed to, but would have liked to see a full 60 minutes from the Chargers. That's obviously been one thing throughout the majority of their time with Spanos as the owner, that they've been failing to close out games. They were able to in this one, but at the same time, they got lucky. Either way, they're coming in at number 8. Number 7 is the Minnesota Vikings. Not the kind of dominant performance I would have liked to see out of the Vikings in the game against the Titans. But at the same time, Darnold played a lot better than he did against Jacksonville, throwing for about 250 yards and 2 touchdowns. The ground game was just not up to par with how I wanted it to be. But at the same time, like, their defense played incredibly well, and that's been the story of the Vikings this season. Is yeah, their offense might be slow at times, but when they need to, that defense is able to step up. They did massively in this one, in particularly against the ground, holding the Titans as a team to just 33 yards of rushing offense. On the flip side, though, they did give up about 300 yards and a touchdown to Will Levis, but also the game-stealing interception occurred. So it was, again, a really, really good game by the Vikings. Defensively, offensively, again, they're showing signs of slowing down compared to how they played earlier on in the season. And they do not have an easy schedule to come. Still need to play the Lions, still need to play the Packers again. It's going to be a tough final stretch for the Vikings. I'm curious to see how it unfolds. But for now, they come in at number 7. Number 6 is the Green Bay Packers. That was a weird game they played against Chicago, but at the end of the day, they show that they still own that city and at least that team, as they escaped the Windy City. Love stepped up towards the end of that game and a little bit towards the beginning, but again, for the most part, just a weird game all around by the offense. The defense played really well in this one, besides that final drive, but the special teams department made a big time play to make up for it with that blocked kick to end the game. And of course, there's all this discussion about, oh, there should have been a penalty on that play, and I'm not saying I disagree with it, but I'm also not saying I agree with it. It was a weird gray middle ground area of the refs just couldn't see into it. So I know the Bears did submit that for review. We'll see what comes out of it. I doubt the NFL actually changes anything, but hey, it was a very, very tough divisional game. The NFC North is known for these tough games, and the Packers looking to get their way back to looking to catch up to Detroit and everything. And this was a big time win for it. And the Packers, man, like, even though like they're looking beatable, but they're finding ways to win at the same time in different ways, and I really like to see that. They're gonna come in at number 6, all because of it. Number 5 is the Kansas City Chiefs. We're popping a champagne yesterday as the legend of the 72 Dolphins hang on. Thank you, Buffalo. We'll talk about you in a little bit. But that was the first loss of the season for the Chiefs. About damn time. They played a lot of one-score games this season and managed to escape them all. But they traveled to Buffalo and things got a little bit tougher. All beginning with that very first drive that Mahomes threw an interception in. And from there, the Bills clearly had the Chiefs' number. Again, it was a really, really good test, but this is still the regular season, and the Bills have beat the Chiefs in the regular season the past few years. The big thing is come playoff time, and I know the Chiefs are a sleeping giant, and if there's that feeling that they're going to turn it on eventually. They have the Panthers next week. That's the game I'm circling to finally see them. Their offense have a massive, massive game. But at the same time, they lose to Buffalo, and it's definitely something that's going to have a lot of attention surrounding it because of the impact of that game and what it could mean going forward. I'm not putting too much stake into this game just yet. Of course, we'll see kind of how both teams look come playoff time. But that's the big thing, is you want to see Kansas City come playoff time. You know they're going to get into the dance. How did they look during it? As now the Chiefs are even angrier and even hungrier looking for that three-peat this season. But for this week, at the very least, they come in at number 5. Number 4 is the Philadelphia Eagles. And that was a nice win on Thursday Night Football at home against a really good team in the Washington Commanders. And for the first 3.5 quarters, this was a very defensive-focused game. And it was good to see Philly win a game that was more so like that than anything. Jake Elliott had a rough night. missing 2 kicks and an extra point, and Washington was just not able to take advantage of it because of this defense from Philly. And this game had the exclamation point on it after Saquon did his thing. He had a fantastic game, and in the grand scheme of things, especially again the second half of that fourth quarter, he really sealed the game and did all he could to make this a win. Playing phenomenally, the Eagles sit firmly on top of the NFC East, a division that has still now pretty much guaranteed not to have a repeat winner for another season. So maybe that's something you're looking at if you're an Eagles fan, but nonetheless, this was a good win, a defensive focused win. Saquon did this thing when he needed to late to seal the game. And I'm liking what I'm seeing from Philly. They're on this big win streak and they're still going strong. And they're sneakily one of the better teams in the NFC. They're going to come in at number 4. Number 3 is the Pittsburgh Steelers. Big time win at home for Pittsburgh. Like a massive win at home against the Ravens in a game where the offense did not get a touchdown the second time this season, may I add. Both of the times 2-0. Chris Boswell, 6 for 6 on the day. A perfect kicking day. Was fantastic and was just enough to win the most possible Steelers-Ravens game you could probably find. Lamar struggled a bit, so did Derrick Henry. And again, only 16 points scored by this Baltimore offense. A defensive slugfest that we are very accustomed to from the Steelers. And yeah, they benefited from this. They benefited from some special teams miscues by Baltimore, the same way they did last week against Washington. But you gotta play the game as perfect as you can to win a game like this, and Pittsburgh just simply did it better. I'm not as completely surprised that the offense wasn't a big of a showing in this one as maybe some other weeks for the Steelers, because the writing was on the wall of this game from the moment that it was on the schedule, basically, or from every single season. You know, this kind of matchup is going to be this kind of defensive first game that maybe turns into a decently high scoring affair. Wasn't the case in this one. The Steelers made play after play when they needed to, and they sit firmly on top of the AFC North, and they come in at number 3 on these rankings. Number 2 is the Buffalo Bills, and I have a lot to thank Buffalo for this week as they keep the legacy of 72 alive. As Josh Allen played a really, really good game, making some massive plays in this one, including the game-sealing touchdown on 4th and 2. And their defense played great as well. The game started with a pick against Mahomes, and it ended with them picking off Mahomes again. It was a great game for that defense, and it was a game that if the defense didn't show up for Buffalo, there was a lot more cause for concern than in this case where the defense showed up. And you're like, yeah, that was kind of expected to happen due to how the Chiefs' offense has been playing this year. But for the most part, it was a good game. James Cook, despite having 2 touchdowns on the day, it did kind of feel like he was held in check, only having 20 yards on 9 carries. Would have liked to see that carry number up a bit more, but hey, Josh Allen threw the ball 40 times and Buffalo got the win. You will definitely take that. And of course, Allen used his legs quite a bit as well. If anything, I know Buffalo isn't technically the 1 seed in the AFC, but for me, this does put them up there more so than the Chiefs are the 1 seed. But the Chiefs had their bye, and that's why and everything. But we'll see. The only question left for Buffalo is come playoff time, can they finally get over that hump? Time will tell. They come in at number 2. Every week, I try to find some new way to describe the number 1 ranked team, Detroit Lions. But there's never a clear, specific way to describe them because of how many different ways to find to win games. And for that, I'm just going to call them the Plastic Man of the NFL. They can win in any kind of way, the same way Plastic Man can take any kind of shape. And as the same way Plastic Man is basically a insanely powerful superhero, the Lions are an insanely powerful team. They won by 46 points in this game, which was the Jaguars' worst loss in team history since a 44-point loss to the Lions in the 90s. Jake Bates, once again, was perfect in the game, mostly for extra points, but obviously had that 1 field goal. And there was 7 straight touchdown drives for the Lions to begin this game. A complete dominant showing from the Lions in a game that they should have dominated for. This is the perfect case when I say I would have liked to see a team dominate better. Because when you're supposed to win and you're supposed to have a dominant win, I want to see that dominant win. The Lions gave it to me this week. they're on top of the NFC. And honestly, again, to me, they're the best team in the NFL because of the amount of different ways they find to win games. And because when they are dominant, they are legit impossible, it feels, to get a stop against and to beat. So the Lions are going to be coming in at number one once again, as, in my opinion, the best team in the NFL. All right, there you have it for the rankings. Quick little recap. The Ravens coming in at number 10, Broncos at 9, Chargers at 8, Vikings at 7, Packers at 6, Chiefs at 5, Eagles at 4, Steelers at 3, Bills at 2, and the big bad Detroit Lions at number 1. Thank you all for tuning in. See you all next time. Have yourselves a damn good one. Peace.